All right, let's get straight into it. The news we've been waiting for finally did happen. The Chiefs and Trey Smith get a long-term deal done. They had until 3 p.m. Central today to get something done. Word on the street for a little while now, per even my video yesterday, was a deal had been agreed upon. My question was in yesterday's video, could they get every single minor thing hammered out before the deadline so that Trey Smith would then say, yes, I will sign that on the dotted line? Well, good news. Roughly 2 hours before the deadline, a deal did indeed get done. So let's just talk about it. We'll go through pros and cons because not everybody's going to be happy with the Chiefs paying a guard top of market money. And that is exactly what happened here. The Chiefs and Pro Bowl guard Trey Smith are close to finalizing a 4-year extension that will make him the highest paid guard in NFL history. So that was Jordan Schultz a little bit ago, but then you follow up with the details. Boom, done. I don't know that he signed on the dotted line yet, but with Jordan Schultz, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, Nate Taylor now, not of The Athletic, but of ESPN, all reporting on this, it is a done deal. It is happening. It's a 4-year deal, $94 million per source, highest paid guard in NFL history, and it gives him $70 million in total guarantees. That is the most guarantees given to a guard ever. Trey Smith, $70 million, Robert Hunt, then Chris Lindstrom were shortly or closely behind at the low 60s compared to Trey Smith's 70. So let's just process through that. I do want to check one more thing because I feel like Adam Schefter, no, it was $94 million. So if you do the math, $94 million, I'm doing it live here on my calculator, divided by 4. That is $23.5 million per year, average. He was making about that on the franchise tag. So if you look at the highest paid guard contracts in the NFL, it looked like this. Trey Smith was on the franchise tag, which was roughly $23.5 million. Landon Dickerson was at 21. Chris Lindstrom is at 20. So he does indeed remain the highest paid guard in all of football. $23.5 million, the most guarantees for a guard. It is a big, massive contract. I do want to kind of work through both sides of this here because I understand some people are saying, hey, that's a lot of money to pay to a guard. That makes me a little bit nervous. I'll give you a lot of positives out of this, I think, and then I will address a couple of the concerns. But last week, Pretty Ricky and another source, they both said, hey, this deal with Trey Smith is done. It should be around $23 to $24 million per year. I also heard from somebody that Trey was hoping for closer to $26 million per year. That would have been a lot of money. So maybe the deal did take a little bit closer to the deadline because Trey is wanting as much as humanly possible, but the Chiefs said, hey, we'll make you the highest paid guard, but 26 is a little rich. Some people might think 23.5 is a little rich, but here's why I was for a long-term deal getting done with Trey Smith. If you're going to trade away Joe Thuney, you're saying, hey, we're going to keep one of these guys. And Trey Smith is 26 years old. He's getting better every single year, and he's extremely durable. I don't think he has missed a start in his entire NFL career. He's played 80 games with the Chiefs between regular season and the playoffs. You lock up Creed Humphrey last year before the start of the season. You now lock up Trey Smith to line up next to him for many years to come here. Now, I will say this, the $70 million in guarantees, it is $23.5 million per year on average. We'll see how the actual cap hits shake out with his contract. Maybe there's an out after 3 rather than 4, but we'll have to kind of wait and see what this also should do. Again, we don't have all the contract details out right now, but what this should do is lower Trey Smith's cap hit. Trey Smith was going to be playing on the franchise tag, which was $23.5 million. Well, his cap hit was $23.5 million. So this long-term deal, the 4-year deal, $94 million, $70 million guaranteed, it should at least half his cap hit this year, and that's going to free up cap space for the Kansas City Chiefs to maybe make some other moves. They had around $11 million in available cap space, at least when I looked last time, which was last week. You are not going to be able to extend Trent McDuffie and do some other moves that you might want to do with other players on the roster prior to the season starting if you don't get a long-term deal done with Trey Smith. You got the deal done. It's going to hopefully at least cut his cap hit for this year in half. And then you can look at hopefully extending somebody like Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, these guys that the Chiefs picked up their fifth-year options on and keeping them around for years to come. In my opinion, Trent McDuffie is priority number one after this. Get him done long-term, get it done early. Sauce Gardner is supposed to become potentially the highest paid corner in all of football here very soon. Derek Stingley Jr. is already the highest paid at $30 million per year average. Sauce is looking to top that. So you want to get Trent McDuffie done soon if you can. We'll see what happens. They like to wait sometimes until the start of the season. That's when they extended last year Harrison Butker, Noah Gray, and there was one other off the Creed Humphrey. They did all three of those guys right before the start of the season. Now let's get back to Trey Smith here for a second. I want to talk about it. You don't just trade away Joe Thuney, your all-pro guard. My voice just cracked because I miss him. You don't just trade away your all-pro guard and then say, well, we'll also lose out on Trey Smith to free agency next year. He was going to become, guys, before the franchise tag, the hottest available free agent lineman on the market. If the Chiefs weren't going to pay him this, somebody else was. The argument that, the Chiefs should have just moved on from Trey Smith, let him play on the tag, yes, but then let him go into free agency, and they could get a top-of-the-market guard next year in free agency or maybe draft one. Well, it's never a guarantee when you draft somebody that they are going to be a hit. We know Trey is a hit. Does he have some weaknesses to his game? Yeah, he's working on improving them, but his strength is against the run. And I know that the Chiefs don't run a ton. 5th, 7th bottom in the league run play percentage versus pass play percentage because you have Patrick Mahomes. You have QB1 in the NFL. Kelsey said it himself. When the game's on the line, crucial situations, you want the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. I get it, but the counter to that is I would like them to run the ball more a little bit. I would like them to run the ball a bit more effectively, removing one of your best linemen on the front five, specifically in a run blocking lineman. If you remove Trey from the equation, that doesn't help your run game. It does not, and he can get better. What you're doing now by saying, hey, Trey Smith long-term, I know that's a bit of a worry from a financial perspective because he's not a top 5, top 10 pass protector. If you look at it specifically from a PFF grade among all guards, he's like 20th to 30th in his pass blocking grade. I understand that some people say, who cares about PFF grades? So I'm not saying that's canon. It also doesn't help that Jawan Taylor is on the right side and he takes such a big step back quickly. It kind of leaves Trey Smith alone on an island, and that's just not always his strength. So you pay Trey Smith, you can move on from Jawan Taylor next year. If Josh Simmons pans out, there's your left tackle on a rookie deal. If Kingsley pans out as even an average guard, there's your left guard on a rookie deal. You got Creed locked up, Trey locked up. Your right tackle, that could be Jalen Moore, only getting $15 million per year right now on that 2-year deal. That could be Wanye Morris. He's on a rookie deal, or it could be somebody else altogether. So no, I did not like the idea of letting Trey Smith walk and just saying, we'll find somebody in the draft or in free agency next year. Teams don't let their top players leave. They don't. Unless there's something going on. Injury concern, getting older, age. Like, those are primary reasons why a team would let a top player go in free agency, betting on their decline as they get older. Trey Smith is only 26 years old. You're also taking into consideration the rise of the salary cap every single year. The bigger cap hits will probably be in a couple years. So I love the fact that they got this done. You kind of had to, in my opinion, when you traded away Joe Thuney. You couldn't just say, we'll lose both of these guys within 2 off seasons. I just don't think that's wise because you want to do all you can to protect Patrick Mahomes. If you protect Patrick Mahomes, you win Super Bowls. If you don't protect Patrick Mahomes, you get blown out in Super Bowls. It's pretty much that simple. You keep the guys that are quality, and then you move on from the other guys that aren't living up to their value. It is a lot of money to pay to a guard, but I've already explained the O-line situation, and that's why I am very hopeful, optimistic about Josh Simmons. If he can become a serviceable left tackle, even above average left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's your first guy that you can have around for years to come and actually develop consistency and rapport with the line and Mahomes, since Eric Fisher, Mahomes has been in 5 Super Bowls. Can somebody tell me how many starting left tackles he's had in those 5 Super Bowls? How many different ones? Well, I'll tell you. 5. 5 left tackles in 5 Super Bowls. Basically unacceptable. They put a lot of eggs in the Orlando Brown Jr. basket when they traded for him. It didn't work out long term. That's part of the issue. But hopefully Josh Simmons can be that guy, and you've got a franchise left tackle on a rookie deal. This is so crucial to me to just sustaining the dynasty. Kelsey might have a year left. Maybe he plays a little bit longer. Chris Jones, probably a couple years left. Andy Reid will probably coach for years to come until his health won't let him anymore. You still have Mahomes. You still have Spags. You got McDuffie. You've got to start keeping these players around that matter. Trey Smith, to me, matters. I think he will get better. He will improve. He will even look better when Jawan Taylor isn't the right tackle anymore. You've got to deal with it this year. They probably move on with them or move on from him after this year. Trevor with the 5, not related to Trey Smith. What's your experience going to Chiefs training camp? How early do I need to get there? You need to get there as early as humanly possible, Trevor, and look for the field with all the cameras. That's going to be where they do most of the joint practices during team periods. They're going to have an offense and defense, but you want to go where the cameras are. Get there as early as humanly possible. Jennifer with the 940 hashtag pay Trey. Well, he is paid. You guys got to let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. I'll break this down more in a video tomorrow, but these are most of my thoughts on why I think you probably pay him. And they did. And they agreed. Yes, every time a player gets paid and resets the market, everybody says wholly overpay. But then in 2 years, is it really overpay? If the average guard then is getting 26, 27 million per year and Trey is at 23 and a half, not really. That's what they said when Mahomes got his contract. That's what think of anybody that gets paid and you're like, holy overpay. You have to do it. You have to account for the rising of the salary cap. You have to also take into consideration the fact that Trey Smith is beloved in the organization, works his off, and he's durable, rarely injured. Not perfect, but ascending. Needs to take a little bit of a step up this season. I believe he does it. Let me know your thoughts on the signing in the comments down below. Are you happy with the Trey Smith long-term deal? Where do you kind of stand, and how do you see the O-line playing out over the next couple of seasons, just from like a contractual standpoint? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go.
How about those Chiefs?